Hello and welcome into another edition of The Final Drive on DMVSTREAM.com. I'm Jeremy Huber here with you on another great night of high school football in the area. Boy, folks, it was another fun one. A lot of overtime games this week, a lot of good ones. Did only have one upset in the top 20, and we're lucky enough to be joined by the coach who helped his team author that upset. It's Charlie Pierce, head coach of the Briarwoods Falcons. His squad with a double overtime win tonight over the Westfield Bulldogs. Hand Westfield their second straight loss, knocking off the 16th ranked Bulldogs. Coach Pierce, thank you so much for joining us on the show tonight.
Appreciate it, Jeremy. I've been wanting to get on here for a while. I got a win to get on here.
Yeah, I tell you what, Coach, we love talking to you. We love it, but I know you're more agreeable after a win than you are a loss, so we want to make sure you got a win before we got you here. But again, Coach,
yeah, I appreciate it.
Fantastic win for you guys tonight. Of course, you had a big one earlier in the year against Tuscarora, which is looking bigger now because they're playing some good ball. But obviously, anytime you can knock off the defending 6A champs in Virginia, it's a big win for you. First off, Coach, I think we got to start with Ben Maffey. A fantastic performance. He's a D1 recruit. He's headed off to school next year. But, boy, did he show his colors tonight. 5 touchdowns. Talk about his performance.
Well, Ben is a physical specimen. He's 6'3", 220, 225. And he's got outstanding speed, and when he gets that head of steam going, he's a load to take down. And we've been toying with him back on defense, and suddenly finally made a decision just for him to stay on the offensive side. And since we decided to put him on the offensive side, he's even gotten better on that side. And so it really came to fruition tonight with his play, and especially in overtime and things like that.
Yeah, and again, doing some big things for you. But interestingly enough, Coach, you end up winning the game with a defensive stop at the end. It's funny, last week, DeMatha and St. John's, they were 1-2. They played. They end up getting a stop, DeMatha, on a 2-point conversion. This time, Westfield went for 2 against you guys in overtime. Your defense was up to the challenge. I know you're an old nose guard. That had to make you happy, didn't it?
Yes, it did. This is probably this year by far it's our best defensive effort. Obviously we shut out Tuscarora, but playing the team of caliber Westfield, we had emphasized stopping the run and forcing to throw and things like that. And we bet a lot tonight. We had a turnover and we kept them to a field goal. I'm really pleased with our defensive effort. I couldn't be happier for those guys on the defensive side of the ball.
Who are some guys for you that stood out tonight?
Well, our secondary, the Springs brothers, Jake Kleifkus, our rover, Joseph Groves, our other young corner, they did a great job. They allowed us to put an extra guy in the box at times. And so the whole front, Cole Schaaf, our outside linebacker, he must have deflected 3 balls, almost had a pick off a deflection. And our inside linebackers with Garcia and Ward, those guys have been special all year, and they did a great job. And those guys go both ways, Garcia and Ward for the most part. So it's tough. And Alex Ronk, he's my best defensive line. He did a great job tonight too.
And Coach Charlie Pierce, head coach of the Briarwoods Falcons, his team a winner tonight, knocking off Westfield 35-34 in double overtime. Coach, you kind of run down the schedule this year, and people look at your record and they say, oh, they're 3-4. But then you look deeper and look at the teams that you played against and have played close. And again, we saw it last year with you guys. Kind of you get behind the 8 ball a bit, and you play such. It's hard to get your footing. Are you, in a sense, do you feel good that your kids didn't say, you know what, heck with this, let's quit on the season, we've got some losses? They've just kept fighting, and then they finally get rewarded tonight.
Yeah, well, that's the makeup of this team. We got great senior leadership and team camaraderie. That they come to practice every day. They work hard. We push the buttons on them all the time. And lesser-minded team would throw the towel at some of those losses. I mean, we had South County beat and gave up a touchdown late. We were tied with South Lakes and gave up a touchdown late. At West Potomac, we were at the 5-yard line with no time on the clock, down by 3, and they blocked a field goal earlier for a touchdown. I said, we're going for the win, and we didn't get that in. And so a team that wasn't well led by the seniors and had the work ethic they have would probably have thrown a towel in. We know our schedule is what it is. It's just, we got to work hard. We got to play hard. Next week we have Potomac Falls, and I know Potomac Falls lost overtime night to Tuscarora, but I already see them on film, and they're a really good team. I know Coach Barnes. I know he runs the wing T, and they got a special defense. And then we got Chantilly and then Stonebridge. So it's, it doesn't get any easier, but it's makes you better as the year goes on, and maybe this year when we get into hopefully the second season that we have a little bit of momentum this year.
Yeah, most definitely. I was going to run down that schedule for you, Coach, but you did such a good job of it talking about, you're literally talking about teams that are going to be competing, if not winning district championships in all their districts, and you faced them all and played good against every single one of them. Coach, moving forward, obviously, you talked about the games you got going on. A big picture question for you. I know you've been up in the higher levels a little bit shorter than some others maybe, but again, is this the most parity you've seen in a high school football season in this area in your career here?
Well, I think because of the way the scheduling took place for us 5A schools here in Loudoun County, I would say yes. It's by far. I mean, if the scheduling hadn't turned out to be this way and we ended up playing everybody in Loudoun County, who knows about the parity? Who knows what it'd be like, But that's the way it came down, and so I would tend to agree with you right now. Everybody plays hard. I know there's 6A schools at Fairfax. Can't wait probably to get this thing over with, this 2-year cycle with us Loudoun County schools, because last year, if you remember last year, Broad Run put a whooping on Centerville when Centerville was supposed to be the go-to team, and it's other teams that we've beaten and played well against, and from Loudoun County and Fairfax against the 6A schools. In fact, our wins last year were against the 6A schools, not the 5A schools here in the county. So I would agree that the parity is pretty substantial. The problem that comes with us is numbers, and it comes to a battle of attrition. And we play like South County, play like Westfield. When you got guys that go one way, we got 3, 4, 5 guys going both ways. That's where we've come up short in some of our games, because guys have to play. I mean, that's just the way it works.
Yeah, well, they played pretty well tonight. 35-34, a win over Westfield for Briar Woods. Finally breaking through, Coach. We'll let you go on this one. Is this the type of win that kind of gets Stonebridge back on the map and maybe running like you were back when you were putting together state championship after state championship? Is this a signature win for you guys?
Well, I agree. It has to rank in one of my best wins I've had since they're Briar Woods. It hopefully this is our second win in a row. We had 2 wins in a row in the last year and a half. So that's a plus too. So I would say yes, it's a springboard, and I would say yes, it's a signature win and has to rank up there. And I've got a lot of special wins in my career at Parkview and especially here at Briarwood. So I have to really sit down and analyze it. But with the way things are going this season, and we're fighting and clawing and scrapping, this by far is the best one we've had in the last 3 years.
Well, Coach Pierce, we hope you can kind of go ahead and make it a few more. You got some winnable games moving forward for that big matchup with Stonebridge at the end of the season, but you got a really big one tonight, knocking off the 12th-ranked Westfield Bulldogs in double overtime. Charlie Pierce, head coach of Briar Woods, thank you so much for joining us on the show.
Appreciate it, Jeremy. Take care.
And that's Charlie Pierce, head coach of the Briar Woods Falcons. I've followed Charlie's career for a long, long time. Actually, he came in at my high school after I left, but a very good coach. And again, as he mentioned, it's just a meat grinder. And somehow, especially Briar Woods, they've got matched up with not only some of the good teams in the Concord district just across the Loudoun County border from Fairfax. They've also ended up meeting up with some other really good teams from even deeper in the old Patriot District. You mentioned it, South County, West Potomac, who looks like they could be one of the top teams there in the old Patriot District as well. So a lot of good teams. Plus, it looks like they've also matching up with South Lake. South Lake's very well could end up winning their district. It's going to be a three-way race with them, Madison and Hayfield. It seems to be those three teams to win their conference. So again, a big win tonight for the Briarwoods Falcons as they were able to go ahead and knock off Westfield by a score of 35-34 in overtime. Let's go ahead now. They're in the top 25. Let's not top 20, the All Met Sports top 20. Let's go ahead and run those down for you before we take our first break. We start off at the very top where number 1 DeMatha was a winner tonight. They beat McNamara 49-12 as the Stags remain they win again, remain unbeaten on the season. Number 2, Wise over Duval. Actually, they face off tomorrow, 2 p.m. start at Duval. Number 3, Damascus remained unbeaten. They beat Blake 45-14. Number 4, Gonzaga on a bye. Their next game next week. It's a big one as they will host number 1, DeMatha. Number 5, St. John's, rebounding from their loss to the Stags last week. They beat St. Mary's Riken 48-7. Number 6, Sherwood all over Northwood 76-20. Number 7, Old Mill beat North County 35-0. Number 8, Madison played on Thursday. They beat Marshall 41-0. Elsewhere, number 9, Quince Orchard over Churchill, 49-0. It was number 10, Episcopal, pulling away from St. Stephen, St. Agnes, winning 42-3. Number 11, Stonebridge over Robinson tonight, 36-21. We mentioned it a few times already. Number 12, Westfield, a loser. They fall to Briarwoods, 35-34 in double OT. The Falcons, Ben Maffey, had 5 touchdowns in that game, scored all the points for the Falcons in that one. Also, the big play, Westfield went for 2 on a 2-point attempt at the end. Briarwood stuffed them. The Falcons get the win. Number 13, South County. They were down early but came back to rout W.T. Woodson 56-32. Number 14, Howard over Centennial, 35-0. It was number 15, Centerville, a close one after their win over Lake Braddock last week, but they beat Oakton 21-12. It was number 16, Lake Braddock, beating T.C. Williams 42-7. Number 17, Good Counsel, looking to rebound from 2 straight losses. They're at Carroll tomorrow for a 1 p.m. start. Actually, that one has been changed, I believe, to a Sunday game. Good Counsel in Carroll. I'll have to make sure we'll go ahead and get you confirmation on that. Number 18, Calvert, also playing a Saturday game, a big one. They are at Patuxent tomorrow. They host Patuxent, in a 7 p.m. start. That was originally scheduled for tonight, but Calvert had their game moved over to Monday, this past Monday, so they kind of spaced things out. They were able to go ahead and move that game to tomorrow. Number 19, South Lakes. They beat Herndon 56-20 in the Baron Cameron Bowl. And number 20, Spalding, with another good performance as they beat Calvert Hall 42-14. That's your look at the All Met Sports Top 20. We'll go ahead and get you up to date on the scores from elsewhere in the area. It's all coming up after this here on the Final Drive here on DMVSTREAM.com. Again, you want to hit us up, do it via Twitter at DMVStream, hashtag it with the Final Drive. Again, that's DMVStream, hashtag it with the Final Drive. Again, I'm Jeremy Huber. This is the Final Drive. We'll have more coming up. Guests to join us on the show today. We'll go ahead and run those down for you as well. H.D. Woodson coach Greg Fuller, his squad, a big win tonight over Wilson in a Turkey Bowl rematch. We'll also hear from the head coach of the Bell Griffins. That's Daniel Tyson. His squad, a big winner over Cardoza, handed Cardoza their first loss of the season tonight. Also, we'll hear from Tuscarora head coach Mike Burnett. His squad, a winner tonight over Potomac Falls, handing the Panthers their first loss of the season. It's all coming up here on the Final Drive. Maybe some other guests coming up as well, but stay tuned for all of it. It's coming up right here on DMV Stream and the Final Drive.
Looking for some of the best barbecue in the area? Well, then come on down to Monk's. Monk's Barbecue has all your favorites: delicious pulled pork, tender, moist brisket, and dry rubbed ribs that just fall off the bone, as well as specialty items like pulled chicken, pastrami, and Kansas City burnt ends. Add in delicious sides like Monk's special baked beans, smoked Gouda mac and cheese, vinegar coleslaw, and many more, and you can't get any better. That's Monk's Barbecue in the heart of Loudoun County, online at monksq.com. That's monks and the letter Q.com. And go to their Facebook page to find out more about their live music and drinks.
DMVSTREAM.com produces live broadcasts for professional, semi-pro, and amateur sporting events
as well as colleges, universities, high schools, AAU, and youth tournaments in the Mid-Atlantic. With a client list that includes ESPN, The Washington Post, Monumental Sports Network, CBS.com, USAFootball.com, USLacrosse.org, NCAA.com, the National Federation of High School Sports, and Georgetown University, among others, Synthesis Multimedia has emerged as the Mid-Atlantic's top provider of sports multimedia. Contact us today to learn more about streaming your events live. Are you a fan of high school sports? Does high school sports attract the type of customers you want for your business? If so, then consider advertising here on The Final Drive. The Final Drive on DMVSTREAM.COM is a weekly show dedicated to high school football in the District, Maryland, and Virginia. We update scores and talk to the movers and shakers from Friday night's top games, and we preview the big matchups from Saturday's action. So consider being a part of The Final Drive. For more information about advertising on The Final Drive, contact Jeremy Huber at jrh0001@gmail.com. That's jrh0001@gmail.com.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to an all-new season of Top Plays here at AllNetSports.com and WashingtonPost.com. I'm your host, BJ Kubarulis. Now, as we've done the past 4 seasons, we're continuing our exciting interactive high school football show that allows you, the coaches, players, parents, and fans, and others, to send in your video submissions for ranking in our Top 10 style weekly show. If you want to see your highlight in this show, well, it's as simple as tweeting your boy. I'm at BJ Koob, and you got to remember to hashtag it, AllNets. All right, you can tweet in your Huddle, YouTube, Vimeo, really any video link by Sundays at noon, and we'll consider it for use in the upcoming episode of Top Plays. Now, you got to remember to tune in on Mondays to see if your video made our Top 10 at AllNetSports.com. We'll see you soon.
Welcome back into The Final Drive here on DMVSTREAM.com. I'm your host, Jeremy Huber, taking you through everything in the DMV when it comes to high school football. District, Maryland, and Virginia, we've got it all here. We especially have it all here tonight on The Final Drive. We'll go ahead and hear from a few more coaches coming up in just a second. Greg Fuller, the head coach of the H.D. Woodson Warriors, big win in a Turkey Bowl rematch tonight against Wilson. His squad a 41-35 winner. We'll talk to Coach Fuller or hear from him in just a moment, so stay tuned for that. Let's go ahead and continue our look at the scores. A little bit of private school action. Riverdale Baptist rebounding, get a big win tonight. Riverdale's had some tough losses on the year, but they get a big one tonight, beating Bullis 49-19. Elsewhere, St. Albans a winner over Paul VI, 34-21. Severn School beat Archbishop Curley 12-0. Remember, if you'd like to hear your score, you haven't heard it yet, go ahead, and if you have it, go ahead and tweet it to us at DMVStream and hashtag it with The Final Drive. DMVStream, hashtag it with The Final Drive. Pilati a winner over St. Paul's big tonight, 55-0. In D.C., it was Ballou beating Anacostia tonight, 54-0. Bell a winner over Cardozo tonight, 42-8. We will hear from Daniel Tyson, head coach of the Bell Griffins, coming up in the show a little bit later on. Elsewhere, it was Theodore Roosevelt big over Phelps, 63-0. Also in D.C. tonight, we mentioned it, a Turkey Bowl rematch, as it was H.D. Woodson beating Wilson 41-35 in an exciting shootout down at H.D. Woodson. Of course, these teams will face off again, but it was a great one tonight. Had a chance to catch up with the head coach of the Warriors a little bit earlier on tonight. That would be Greg Fuller. Talk to him about his team's big win. Well, Coach Fuller, another exciting game this time around. Maybe not as good for your ticker as the Turkey Bowl last year, but 41-35, you guys knock off Wilson. H.D. Woodson victorious again. First off, congratulations on the win.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Let's start off with the end. You guys, you kind of roll the dice, Coach Fuller. You go with a fake punt late in the game, helps you keep the ball. You end up icing the game. What did you see, and why did you decide to call it?
Well, I didn't make that call. I allowed my defensive coach, Brandon Dow, who was the special team coach. He went on to make that call. I guess he had a gut feeling and went with it, and we came out successful with it.
Yeah, and I it may not have been your call, but I'm sure you had to go ahead and put the final stamp on it. Was there any apprehension on your side? Did you just say, you know what,
No.
I believe my guy, let's do it?
Yeah, well, one thing you got to say to your coaches, that's what they're there for, to help us, help the other coaches out. But also you got to faith in the kids. And the young men they went out there and they executed it very well, so I'm very grateful that they did that.
They most definitely did. Helps you guys run out the clock against a comeback by Wilson. You guys, it looked like you kind of had it your way. You were leading 41-22 going to the fourth quarter. They put that surge on there. Was there any point in you kind of worried your guys, hey, we might not be able to stop this ball that they got rolling against us?
Hey, I worried the whole night. Even though it was up at 19 points, I still couldn't, stop running because I knew they have a very explosive offense. Stevie Williams loves to run. And also they have Sean Savoy, who's a very explosive player. So still, they hung in there very well. Wilson did a great job on the comeback.
I was really impressed. I called one of your games last year. I was seeing in the DCSA championship games, and obviously you guys have a lot of talent at the skill positions. Tonight, you really helped you guys out in that area. Charles Peeler takes a kickback for a touchdown. Also, Salhuddin took a kickback for a touchdown. How big were you guys on special teams tonight?
Well, those two plays were very big. And the third phase of football, special teams, defense, and offense, and all three phases came together. Thank God that they came together for us tonight. I mean, those are two game players right there, Michael and Charles, and I'm grateful to have them on the team.
And, Coach, obviously you guys have a lot of talent, but it seems like you may be in a bit of a quandary right now when it comes to the quarterback spot. Your starter got knocked out earlier in the season. He's done for the year. Tyron Robinson, he got hurt some tonight. How are you guys at the signal caller spot right now?
We'll work that out. Tyron is okay. He's not doing too bad. We appreciate him a lot. 11th grade came in and did an admirable job tonight. So we'll figure out some things. We'll try some things with Charles and Mike. So hopefully we'll work on some things and it'll get better for us towards the stretch.
And, Coach, in a sense that you guys, top four teams make the playoffs in the DCIA in the Stars division, is that a little bit okay for you as opposed to maybe like in Maryland where, hey, you got to be in that top four to get in? You guys have a pretty good chance to know you're going to get in, so you have a little bit of maybe more leeway to kind of see, hey, what can we do here? What's going to work? What's going to not? As opposed to, hey, we got to drive for the playoffs.
Yeah, you're right about that. So it does give us a little bit of leeway to work on some things to hopefully to perfect some things down the stretch for us in the playoff run.
And Coach Greg Fuller of HD Woods and his team victorious tonight with a 41-35 win over Wilson. Coach, as you move forward with this team, you're 5-1 right now. Your only loss of the season coming in that good one against Friendship Collegiate early in the season. How do you see things shaping up for your team as you head down the stretch run?
You got to continue to work hard and stay focused and continue to be aggressive and keep their minds on what's moving forward. That's all we can do. Continue to work.
Well, you do that next week against Eastern, the first of two against the defending Stripes Division champion. Obviously, you guys are the Stars Division champion. You have to feel good about yourselves moving forward. Greg Fuller, your Warriors tonight with a 41-35 win over Wilson. Again, Coach Fuller, thank you so much for joining us, and congratulations on the win.
Thank you for having me, Johnny.
And Greg Fuller, again, his team looking for another Turkey Bowl championship. It seems to be over the last few years that, Wilson, Ballou, some of the other teams have challenged, but the Warriors able to go ahead and keep their crown when it comes to the DCSA, or should be the DCIA Stars division. Of course, should be interesting this year. And again, Coach Fuller's team with Gonzaga and St. John's kind of bowing out of the DCSAA, really maybe a little bit clearer path for the Warriors to maybe get that title as well. Though, of course, they're probably going to have a rematch with Friendship Collegiate if that happens. Also, Carroll may have some things to say about it as well. But again, a pretty good win for them tonight as they're able to go ahead and knock off Wilson by a score of 41-35. Let's go ahead and run through some more scores right now. Over in Annapolis, over in Maryland, we go to Annapolis, in the Annapolis area, where it's funny, we talked to Nick Good-Malloy, the head coach of the Annapolis Panthers last week, and I remember the first thing he said when we kind of were giving him, hey, you got Old Mill coming up later in the season, you're undefeated, kind of got an easy schedule. He said, no, we got to focus on Severna Park. They are a good football team, and boy, did Severna Park almost prove that tonight as Annapolis beats Severna Park in a shootout 42-35. So the Panthers stay unbeaten and maybe keep that big undefeated showdown, I believe would be in the last week of the season against Old Mill alive, but the Panthers escape by the skin of their teeth tonight. Blair a winner over Springbrook as they stay unbeaten 36-7. Blair a winner. Broadneck a winner tonight over Arundel 45-12. Chris Watts returned from injury, and Boy, did he look good. The Bruins wide receiver, 3 touchdowns in that contest as they beat Arundel by that 45-12 count. Largo winner over Central tonight, 36-0. It was North Point over Chopticon, 26-0. That's the Braves' first loss of the season. Urbana beat Clarksburg 17-12. You haven't heard the story on this one, folks. Clarksburg threw a Hail Mary at the end of the game, and the player was ruled down that his knee touched before he went into the end zone. So a bad break for the Coyotes, and that one would have had a nice win over Urbana tonight. Instead, Urbana takes the win over Clarksburg. Fort Hill routed Fairmont Heights 63-13. Whitman over Gaithersburg tonight, 28-17. It was Great Mills over Leonardtown, 24-16. Wild Lake a winner over Hammond, 30-0. St. Charles over La Plata, 24-6. Long Reach beat River Hill, 20-10. Elsewhere, Thomas Stone a winner over McDonough, 33-20. Northeast beat Chesapeake 28-22. Northwest, nice win tonight as they knocked off previously unbeaten Richard Montgomery 46-13. The Jaguars had some struggles as of late. Of course, that's mostly because they played some really good teams. Northwest last few times out ended up dropping a few games. The Jaguars, their last few games out, they lost last week to Blair in a little bit of an upset. Of course, we saw a few weeks back they dropped one earlier in the season as they fell to Sherwood. 2 weeks ago. They fell to Blair a few weeks back in a shootout. Of course, coming up next week for Northwest, Quince Orchard. But again, they get a nice win tonight over Richard Montgomery, who had yet to drop a game on the season, but they drop one in emphatic fashion tonight as Northwest, the Jaguars, get the win by that 46-13 score. Elsewhere, it was Einstein upsetting Paint Branch 16-14. Bethesda Chevy Chase over Poolsville 20-12. Potomac of Maryland, a winner over Gwynn Park in a shootout tonight, 42-37. Gwynn Park's first loss of the season. Seneca Valley routed Watkins Mill 42-21. Glen Burnie over Southern 25-7. Lackey beat Westlake 28-0. It was Wooten over Rockville, 28-22. Elsewhere in Virginia, Battlefield a winner tonight over Osborne Park, 45-22. Brentsville beat Fauquier, 42-27. The Tigers stay unbeaten on the year. Champ a big win over Rockridge, 53-14. Colonial Forge over Forest Park, 52-14. Elsewhere, it was Woodgrove over Freedom of South Riding, 52-14. Loudon Valley a win over Hanley, 40-14. It was Hilton over Garfield, 56-0. Dominion routed Loudoun County, 37-10. Liberty over Manassas Park, 35-14. Elsewhere, it was Annandale over Mount Vernon, 28-21. Potomac of Virginia winner tonight as they beat Mountain View by a 31-13 score. Tuscarora, nice win tonight. They hand Potomac Falls their first loss of the season. Huskies beat P Falls 24-17 in overtime. Riverside over George Mason tonight, 31-13. Stonewall Jackson beat Osborne 26-0. It was Wakefield over Edison 32-14. Elsewhere, Riverbend over Woodbridge by a score of 24-5, and it was Broad Run a winner tonight as they beat Yorktown 29-7. We're going to take another break. We'll come back and we will hear from the head coach of the Tuscarora Huskies, Mike Burnett. We just told you about his team's win over Potomac Falls. We'll check in with Coach Burnett right after this here on The Final Drive on DMVSTREAM.com.
Looking for some of the best barbecue in the area? Well, then come on down to Monk's. Monk's Barbecue has all your favorites: delicious pulled pork, tender, moist brisket, and dry rubbed ribs that just fall off the bone, as well as specialty items like pulled chicken, pastrami, and Kansas City burnt ends. Add in delicious sides like Monk's special baked beans, smoked Gouda mac and cheese, vinegar coleslaw, and many more, and you can't get any better. That's Monk's Barbecue in the heart of Loudoun County, online at monksq.com. That's monks and the letter Q.com. And go to their Facebook page to find out more about their live music and drinks.
DMVSTREAM.com produces live broadcasts for professional, semi-pro, and amateur sporting events, as well as colleges, universities, high schools, AAU, and youth tournaments in the Mid-Atlantic. With a client list that includes ESPN, The Washington Post, Monumental Sports Network, CBS.com, USAFootball.com, USLacrosse.org, NCAA.com, the National Federation of High School Sports, and Georgetown University, among others. Synthesis Multimedia has emerged as the Mid-Atlantic's top provider of sports multimedia. Contact us today to learn more about streaming your events live.
Are you a fan of high school sports? Does high school sports attract the type of customers you want for your business? If so, then consider advertising here on The Final Drive. The Final Drive on DMVSTREAM.COM is a weekly show dedicated to high school football in the District, Maryland, and Virginia. We update scores and talk to the movers and shakers from Friday night's top games, and we preview the big matchups from Saturday's action. So consider being a part of The Final Drive. For more information about advertising on The Final Drive, contact Jeremy Huber at jrh0001@gmail.com. That's jrh0001@gmail.com.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to an all-new season of Top Plays here at allmetsports.com and WashingtonPost.com. I'm your host, BJ Kubarowicz. Now, as we've done the past 4 seasons, we're continuing our exciting interactive high school football show that allows you, the coaches, players, parents, and fans, and others, to send in your video submissions for ranking in our Top 10 style weekly show. If you want to see your highlight in this show, well, it's as simple as tweeting your boy. I'm at BJ Koob. You got to remember to hashtag it, Ole Mets. All right, you can tweet in your Huddle, YouTube, Vimeo, really any video link by Sundays at noon, and we'll consider it for use in the upcoming episode of Top Plays. Now, you got to remember to tune in on Mondays to see if your video made our top 10 at allmetsports.com. We'll see you soon.
Welcome back into the Final Drive here on DMVSTREAM.com. I'm Jeremy Huber, bringing you up to date on everything ongoing in the world of high school football in the District, Maryland, and Virginia. So glad to have you along on the show. Remember, if you want to get in touch with us, you can do it via Twitter with the DMV Stream, at DMV Stream with the Final Drive hashtag. Again, go ahead and tweet us at DMV Stream, hashtag it with the Final Drive. Again, that's the Final Drive. That's the best way to go ahead and get to us. You got a score that you may not have heard that you have, go ahead and let us know about it. It's the best way to do it. If you want to go ahead and pass that along to us, we'd love to go ahead and get it and push it along on the show to our listeners out there. Again, some other scores, some notable scores still kind of out there in the outliers. We're trying to go ahead and track those down. Again, a really good game tonight. Sounds like out at West Springfield, West Potomac. Lots of points put up in that one as those two rivals facing off tonight. So again, should be interesting when we get the final score on that one. We'll pass it along to you. But again, we've got a lot of finals in the books. So one of those coming out of Leesburg tonight as Potomac Falls dropped from the ranks of the unbeaten as Tuscarora continued their resurgence with a nice win tonight as they beat the Panthers in overtime 24-17. Had a chance to catch up with the head coach of Tuscarora after the game, Mike Burnett. Well, Coach Burnett, obviously, you guys, we know how you've been doing it for years at Tuscarora. It seems like a lot of close games. You do it again tonight. You hand Potomac Falls their first loss of the season in overtime, 24-17. First off, Coach, congratulations on the win.
Thanks. I appreciate it. It was a hard-fought one.
Yeah, and it's kind of helped you guys come back. You started off 1-3 on the year, something they're not used to in Leesburg, but you've run off 3 straight wins. Let's start with tonight's victory. Did some of you think some of last year and all those close wins rub off when your guys got into a tight situation this time?
Yeah, we hope so. You know, this is a really young team. You know, we're loaded with sophomores and juniors, and it's been a growing experience. But one thing we told them tonight was that this has historically been a very difficult place for good football teams to come in and win. And we hope that they would build off of that and that kind of history and play with the emotion that you need to win these kind of football games. And we're really proud they were able to do that.
Yeah, and again, Jalen Lundy ends up going ahead and giving you the score right up the middle on the first play of overtime. Talk about that play that ended up giving you guys the win.
Well, you know, it wasn't tricky. You know, we thought we had established a run pretty well in the third quarter. And we decided, you know, let's not play games here. You know, he's been great all night. He kind of carried the load for us when we needed it, and we said, let's just go there. And we were going to do it 4 times and see what happened. And it only took 1, thank goodness.
Yeah, ended up popping one, ended up getting the stop on the defensive end. It seemed like the Potomac Falls passing game was kind of getting you guys a little bit in the second half. How are you guys able to eventually shut it down and get the victory?
Well, you know, we just stayed the course. I think when the field got shorter, it actually helped us in that coverage.
They had some really big receivers and really talented kids, and they were giving us some problems in space, and largely because we really were committed to taking away the run, and I thought, well, that's what they love to do, and I thought we did a great job of doing that, but it certainly gave them some opportunities in the passing game.
Coach, you talk about you have a young team. Justin Allen, your quarterback, he's a youngster. How have you liked his progression on the year?
Oh, he's been tremendous. I mean, from the first game to now, he's come a long way. He still has a long way to go, and understanding all the different situations and not trying to force the ball downfield, which he did against good teams. And that's the challenge, is that when you play good teams, you're gonna be faced with a little different adversity, and that's I think he did a lot of growing up tonight.
And Coach, you get in late in the game. You kind of dodged a bullet there. Potomac Falls got down the field against you. They were lining up a 37-yard field goal. You got called for 2 offside penalties. I've watched your guys. I've watched your career for a long time, covered you back in one of my old jobs, and I know you got a pretty disciplined football team. Were those 2 good calls against you, and were you a little disappointed your guys kind of put you all in that position?
Well, it's one of those things. We always want to push the edge, and that's you want your kids to play hard, and they were tough. I mean, it was really close. He was trying to time it up to get a block, and you want your kids to play that hard, but at the same time, you're absolutely right. It's like the discipline piece has been an issue for us with the young team, and that's something that's got to get better for us, and we're going to keep working on it.
And Coach, you guys, I mentioned early on, you lose to Briarwoods, you lose to Hayfield, you lose to Oakton. You get that win over Centerville. At the time, people said, oh, maybe Centerville's down. Then they come right back out and beat Lake Braddock, I believe, the next week. Was that win over Centerville the turning point for you guys to kind of remind your kids, hey, we can play some pretty good football here?
Absolutely. I mean, that was a big win for us. I mean, we feel like now, we've beaten maybe the best team in the Concord and maybe the best team in the Potomac. I don't know. We got a lot of football to play, but I think this is a year where the teams are so even. I think the football in Northern Virginia has gotten so much better since you and I have been in here, and it's just so competitive. And you're 1 play away from winning and losing games, and you're maybe 5 plays away from going 6-4 as opposed to 9-1, and so. I think it's going to make for some really great football down the stretch. I don't think you're going to see anybody run away with it, and it's going to come down to who's playing the best in November.
Well, Mike Burnett, you got some tough games coming up on the schedule. Stonebridge and Broad Run just over the horizon after your game with Edison, but enjoy this one tonight. You knock off an unbeaten team in Potomac Falls. Mike Burnett, head coach of the Tuscarora Huskies, thank you so much for joining us on the show.
Thanks. I really appreciate it.
And we go from dogs to cats, as it were, on our show tonight, as we're lucky enough now to be joined by the head coach of the Northwest Jaguars, Mike Neubeiser, and Coach Neubeiser's squad. A big win tonight. They knock off Richard Montgomery 46-13. Coach, first off, congratulations on the big win. Yeah, and Coach, we look at this game tonight, and it's interesting. Richard Montgomery team. It seemingly Coach Klotz kind of pointed you guys as one of the teams they're trying to reach, and 2 times last year they gave you pretty good games. Were you kind of surprised that the game kind of got to the point it did tonight with this big margin at the end of it?
I was pleasantly surprised, but yes, I was. I thought, coming in, it was going to be a battle. They're undefeated, and it was really close. I think the score is deceiving. I think the game was a lot closer than the score indicates.
Well, you guys ended up pulling away from the event, getting the victory, and right before we got going here, we were talking about who some of the guys who stood out for you. And again, anytime you score that many points, you got to have a few guys. And you said Alfonso Ferre and Jawan Ferry played some very good football. Talk a little bit about their performances.
Yes, Alfonso Ferre at receiver did a really good job for us. We ran some screens to him, and he had some good catches and runs after the catch. He was real big for us early in the game, and then Jawan Ferry had a huge 72-yard touchdown run for us, and then he had some big plays in the second half. So, those 2 guys really helped us on offense, and our quarterback Chris Craddock did a good job of distributing the ball.
Yeah, and again, when you go ahead, you have a 3-year starter previously as your quarterback. You got a new guy in there. How have you liked his performance on the year so far?
He's done well. He keeps improving each week, and you can see his confidence growing and growing. So hopefully, when next week we play Quinn Burchard. So I think this is a big confidence booster, I guess, going into that game. And they're a very good football team defensively. They're tough, so it's going to be a tough battle. But I think this helps his confidence a little bit.
Talking to Mike Neubiser, head coach of the Northwest Jaguars, his team with a big win tonight over Richard Montgomery, 46-13 to improve to 4-2 on the year. Coach, you know, I was talking to a few coaches earlier in the show from Virginia and some really tough schedules on their plate. Boy, do you have a pretty tough schedule. Who did you make mad to give you the schedule you got? Seneca Valley, Blair, Sherwood, of course, Richard Montgomery, Quince Orchard. I mean, is there any time you kind of think to yourself, boy, there's a lot of tough games on this schedule?
Yeah, so the negative is that, you know, you play tough teams and you get losses. But the positive is that if you can make it to the playoffs, then at least you'll be battle tested. So we're thankful for that, I guess. But it's been tough. It's been a tough ride. I mean, Sherwood was really good at a physical football team, great running back, and they did a good job in their game planning. And Blair has a very explosive offense. So it's been good for us as far as pushing us to get better. But, man, it's been tough road. Definitely been a tough road.
Most definitely. And again, Coach, as you move forward, and again, you're in a different spot than others. You know, I'm over here in Virginia where it seems like almost everybody makes the playoffs. In Maryland, it's tough. You guys only have those 4 playoff spots you're going for. One, I guess, I know you football coaches seem to do this stuff in your head. You always seem to know. Where do you think you guys sit in the playoffs? Are you okay? Do you have a good chance if you can win out to get in? And number 2, you have to kind of, you know, has the team gotten that mode of, hey, we got to keep winning or we might not be able to make it into the postseason, which is really a different type of feeling. That doesn't happen very often at Northwest, at least since you and some of the guys before you have been there.
Yeah, it's definitely our backs are against the wall. If we win out, I think we'll be okay. It's not a big deal. If we win out, we're definitely in. Where we'll be seated, I have no idea. But if we win out, we're good. But winning out is not an easy task. You know, Quince Orchard next week. They're one of the best teams in the county every year, and especially this year, they're very good. They have a ton of talent. So, you know, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. If we lose to Quince Orchard, who knows? We may not make the playoffs, like you said. That's something that's new for us. But you know, our backs are against the wall, so we got to fight and kick all the way, and hopefully we make it to the playoffs.
And one last one for you, Coach Neubiser. Because of the fact of the great tradition that's been established at Northwest, where, you know, I've been around schools like that where basically it's, hey, not making the playoffs isn't an option. Is there that extra layer of motivation that you don't have to be on the kids because the ghosts of the previous teams are on top of them saying, hey, this is what we do here. We got to keep pushing?
Oh, yeah, definitely. And that's the way it's been. Our kids this week, our preparation for this week was a little different than all the previous weeks because our backs are against the wall. So, I guess we're kind of like that kid in college who's cramming for the final exam. You know, every week's going to be a final exam for us. Unfortunately, we'll have to keep cramming and keep pushing, give it everything we have, and hopefully we'll make it. We'll see. It's going to be a tough road, though. You make the bed you sleep in, you know, and that's where we're at right now, and hopefully we can get there, though.
Well, Coach Neubiser, I like the analogy, and I would have to say that if I was grading, I'd give you an A+ for your performance tonight against the Rockets. 46-13, Northwest beats Richard Montgomery. Head coach of the Northwest Jaguars, Mike Neubiser, congratulations, and thank you for joining us on the show tonight.
All right, thank you, Jeremy.
Again, Coach Neubiser's squad, they are very, very aware of what it takes to be in the playoffs. They have made so many playoff runs. Even last year when they didn't win it, Wise ended up winning the state championship. But, you know, Northwest kind of came out of the bottom end of their bracket and ends up winning, getting out, and ended up facing Wise eventually before they fell, and really gave the Pumas one of their better games of the year. So it would be interesting to see if his team's able to get in some noise that they could make, because they are a really good football team, really good football program as well up at Northwest. So should be interesting to see what they can do moving forward. But again, you really don't want to bet against Mike Neubiser, and really what is a big game next week. That one against Quince Orchard should be a fun one to watch. If you're in the area, go out there and catch a really good high school football game. Well, let's go ahead and update you on a few more scores before we take our final break of the night, and we'll be joined after that by the head coach of the Bell Griffins, Daniel Tyson, talk about his team's big win over Cardozo tonight. Couple new scores into us. Indiana School of the Deaf beat Modell tonight 57-0. Elsewhere, it was a Century over St. Mary's of Annapolis 21-19. Dunbar a winner tonight as they beat Eastern 44-20. Some other outlying scores out there. We'll get you up to date on some of those as we move through the show. But right now, going to take another break. We'll be back right after this. Again, we will hear from the head coach of the Bell Griffins, Daniel Tyson, talk about his team's big win over Cardozo tonight. We'll do that after this. You're listening to The Final Drive on DMVSTREAM.com. I'm Jeremy Huber. We'll be back right after this.
Looking for some of the best barbecue in the area? Well, then come on down to Monk's. Monk's Barbecue has all your favorites: delicious pulled pork, tender, moist brisket, and dry rubbed ribs that just fall off the bone, as well as specialty items like pulled chicken, pastrami, and Kansas City burnt ends. Add in delicious sides like Monk's special baked beans, smoked Gouda mac and cheese, vinegar coleslaw, and many more, and you can't get any better. That's Monk's Barbecue in the heart of Loudoun County, online at monksq.com. That's monks and the letter Q.com. And go to their Facebook page to find out more about their live music and drinks.
DMVSTREAM.com produces live broadcasts for professional, semi-pro, and amateur sporting events, as well as colleges, universities, high schools, AAU, and youth tournaments in the Mid-Atlantic. With a client list that includes ESPN, The Washington Post, Monumental Sports Network, CBS.com, USAFootball.com, USLacrosse.org, NCAA.com, the National Federation of High School Sports, and Georgetown University, among others, Synthesis Multimedia has emerged as the Mid-Atlantic's top provider of sports multimedia. Contact us today to learn more about streaming your events live.
Are you a fan of high school sports? Does high school sports attract the type of customers you want for your business? If so, then consider advertising here on The Final Drive. The Final Drive on DMVStream.com is a weekly show dedicated to high school football in the District, Maryland, and Virginia. We update scores and talk to the movers and shakers from Friday night's top games, and we preview the big matchups from Saturday's action. So consider being a part of The Final Drive. For more information about advertising on The Final Drive, contact Jeremy Huber at jrh0001@gmail.com. That's jrh0001@gmail.com.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to an all-new season of Top Plays here at OleMetSports.com and WashingtonPost.com. I'm your host, BJ Kubarulis. Now, as we've done the past 4 seasons, we're continuing our exciting interactive high school football show that allows you, the coaches, players, parents, and fans, and others, to send in your video submissions for ranking in our Top 10 style weekly show. If you want to see your highlight in this show, well, it's as simple as tweeting your boy. I'm at BJ Koob. You got to remember to hashtag it, Ole Mets. All right, you can tweet in your Huddle, YouTube, Vimeo, really any video link by Sundays at noon, and we'll consider it for use in the upcoming episode of Top Plays. Now, you got to remember to tune in on Mondays to see if your video made our Top 10 at OleMetSports.com. We'll see you soon.
Welcome back into The Final Drive here on DMVStream.com. I'm Jeremy Huber here with you, taking you through everything in the District, Maryland, and Virginia when it comes to high school sports. We're going to hear from the head coach of the Bell Griffins, Daniel Tyson, in just 1 second. I want to update you on some more scores that we have just gotten in, some ones that we have just heard finals on. Northern beat Huntingtown tonight in Maryland action 21-14. Elsewhere, Walter Johnson over Magruder tonight 32-21. In Virginia, Chantilly, big win over McLean, 49-14. Washington Lee edged Langley 36-35. Elsewhere, we talked about that big shootout tonight between West Potomac and West Springfield. West Potomac a winner in that one, 47-40. The Wolverines, again, putting together a pretty good season on the year. They do have the one loss earlier in the season. That one coming in a matchup that the Wolverines had earlier this year as they fell to Lake Braddock 24-21. Again, Wolverines of West Potomac get a nice slate coming up. They've got Annandale, T.C. Williams, South County, and Mount Vernon. So whenever South County would likely get them to 9-1 on the season, which would be a fantastic campaign for Jeremiah Ross's West Potomac crew. They would love to go ahead and do that, get a big win against South County, knock them off late in the year and able to do some good things. Well, let's go ahead and we will hear from the head coach of the Bell Griffins. Of course, Bell really seen maybe as the favorite in the DCIA Stripes division this year because of the fact of Eastern going up to the Stars division. Well, Bell, of course, the last few years has gone back and forth with Eastern, hasn't been able to get into the Gravy Bowl championship game, but they're hoping to do it this time around. Had a chance to talk to head coach Daniel Tyson after his team's big win earlier tonight. Let's go ahead and check in with Coach Tyson and his talk to him after his team's big win. Well, Coach Tyson, obviously tonight a big win for you guys. You hand Cardozo their first loss of the season. First off, Coach, congratulations on the victory.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, Coach Tyson, a big score, 42-8. Obviously, you guys have kind of been around as the contender in your conference for a while. Cardozo hasn't. Did you expect to kind of have the spread like you did tonight to win by that big of a margin?
No, absolutely. That's a good football team on the other side with great coaches. They've had some success lately, and we'll see that football team again. So we played them at the end of the season. I expect a team that comes out that's going to be hungry, but we expected a tight game, and they didn't have their best game today, but we expect them to bounce back.
Coach, who were some folks that stood out for you guys tonight in the nice win?
We had a couple players that you said that sat out today.
Yeah, that were good for you tonight.
Well, Deontay McKenzie, he's taking over from Charles Brooks from last year. This is a kid that works extremely hard, kind of with the backup to Charles last year. And this kid, I'm sure he had over 200 yards and 3 touchdowns. He ran the ball really hard. He's our workhorse. We have a young quarterback that was a backup last year that made great plays, 3 touchdown passes today. And then you look at a guy number 1, Octavius, who does a great job and has improved week in and week out. So, and look, I know I'm missing people, but our offensive line with Juan Sanchez and Brandon Andrews, we got some really solid leadership on this team. I'm excited to see where we go.
Yeah, and Coach Tyson, you guys are an I formation team. You like to run the ball. We saw that last year. You mentioned Charles Brooks, and getting back to McKenzie, obviously kind of stepping in from him and doing some great things. But has there been much of a transition? We know how much Charles really helped you guys on the offensive end last year. Was there any learning curve, or did Deontay just step right in and kind of take over the job and say, "Hey, let's go ahead and ride me like we did Charles last year"?
Well, I think it was a learning curve, and the credit to him for putting in the work to realize and being patient in the hole and making the right reads. And so this is a guy that Charles, as you said, took the majority of the snaps last year. But this is a kid that has worked extremely hard, not just on the field and in practice, but watching film. And so I think if you go back and look at the games from the beginning of the season, every single week this kid has gotten better with his vision and trusting the play. So it took some time for him to get there. But credit to the O-line, credit to the fullbacks in getting better. This is a young team. And I think our best football is ahead of us.
Talk about good football. Obviously, you only give up 8 points. You're doing some good things. Anybody who was a standout for you on the defensive end tonight?
Absolutely. I'm going to point to number 1, Octavius Beasley, who he did an unbelievable job making some tackles today. And you look at number 56 and our anchors on the defensive line, 56 Juan Sanchez and 71 Brandon Andrews. These guys, they set the point of attack, and without them, it's hard for our defense to function. But, I think overall it was a team defensive win. They had that one play that kind of it was a very good play. I give credit to Cardozo, but I think our defense played outstanding today. So it was a great team victory.
And Coach, obviously a little bit of transition at Bell this year as you went up from the offensive coordinator spot, became the head coach. Coach Alexander kind of took a back seat, coaching on the staff still. Was there any bit of a transition there? Obviously, and was it kind of strange, maybe not just for you, but for the kids kind of changing roles like that?
Well, I wouldn't say a transition. I think it's both of us have been kind of coaches for a long time, and so more than anything, Coach Alexander and us were best friends. We're like brothers, and so the transition was very easy for us. In fact, he was, we lost the defensive coordinator earlier in the season, and the first person I thought of that wanted to help me out was Coach Alexander. So he's one of the most humble people I know. If anybody in the world could do this transition, it would be him, and he makes it easy. So I wouldn't have picked a single person more than picking Desmond Alexander to help me with this. And with him, I think we're going to do big things.
And Coach, you look at your all schedule early in the season. I think some people may have forgot about you because of that 2-3 start to the season, and maybe not the losses, but maybe the amount of the losses. Again, quality teams like Ballou, Murray, and obviously HD Woodson. But did you guys that were able to kind of learn from those, lick your wounds a little bit, and come back in the in the stripes point part of your schedule? You think kind of getting your feet back under you now with some teams maybe more on your level?
Well, we made a strategic decision last year, the last couple of years, to play a tougher strength of schedule. And, I believe that these kids needed the opportunity to face adversity early in the season, unlike the last couple of years where we faced adversity only in the playoffs. So, we strategically chose to play a tougher schedule. And I knew that if we dealt with adversity and we actually battled through some injuries or battled through some tough times, I was going to have a very strong football team come to the end of the season. And so, we pride ourselves on three things: preparing very well, competing hard, whether a team is outmanned, whether we're outmanned or not, and finishing. And so, having that strong schedule is going to help us finish strong. And so the kids are pinpoint laser focused on finishing strong, not just the way we start, but how we finish.
And one more for you, Coach Tyson. You look at it, obviously, I think this win in some minds is going to make you guys the favorites to go very wide open. Obviously, Roosevelt playing some good football as well. But last two seasons, Eastern goes on to the Gravy Bowl. You guys couldn't get past them. Is there kind of a sense of unfinished business for you guys to say, look, let's get that thing. We want that Gravy Bowl. We want to go ahead and take that trophy home?
Well, absolutely. I think for any football team, your end game is to try to win the championship. But the good thing for us is that we're super focused on putting the work in practice. We know that there's some good football teams out there. Roosevelt is playing well. Cardozo's playing well. And don't forget about McKinley and Phelps and some of the other schools and Coolidge. But we know that we got to handle business ourselves. And so we're worried more about how we take care of ourselves and our business and prepare. And we believe that if we prepare the right way, that we'll earn the right to be back in the Gravy Bowl and hopefully win it this year. But we're taking it, I know it's cliche, but I really pride myself on being humble, and we're taking it 1 week at a time. So I'm excited to see where we go. I wish every team good luck, but my team is just going to focus on 1 week at a time.
Well, Coach Tyson, you've got Coolidge next. I'm sure you guys will be focused on them as you move forward. Daniel Tyson, head coach of the Bell Griffins, big win tonight over Cardozo, 42-8. Coach Tyson, thank you so much for joining us on the show.
All right, thank you so much.
And we go from D.C. to Maryland, and a big win out in Maryland tonight for the Potomac Wolverines. They end up knocking off Gwynn Park, knocking the Yellow Jackets from the ranks of the unbeaten. We're talking to their head coach, Ronnie Crump of Potomac. Coach Crump, first off, congratulations on the big win tonight.
Thank you very much.
And you guys go into Gwynn Park. It was their homecoming, able to spoil it for them. First off, again, it really looked like a bit of a shootout in the contest. I actually want to back up a second. I did hear that one of the players for Gwynn Park was seriously injured in the game. I'm sure you probably don't know about his status, but I guess the question would be on your end. I know sometimes people worry about the team where they lose their teammate in that situation. On the other end of things, for your guys, did you have to do anything to kind of keep your guys' heads in the moment as opposed to worrying about the guy who got hurt on the other side?
Well, the guy that got hurt, unfortunately, he was a young man that we was concerned about. He was their top running back. I believe he came head-to-head with Taylor Fleet Davis. I believe he hurt his shoulder. But, our kids just felt as though, they just wanted to come out and play tonight. Nobody you don't want anybody to get hurt in a game like football of this caliber, especially in a game of this caliber. But my hat goes off to that young man. He's a tough player. He was definitely in our scouting report. But our kids, they remain resilient throughout the game.
That they were, Coach Crump, as they end up getting the big win. And starting off on your offensive side of things, you had a pretty decent performance there as your quarterback did some special things for you tonight. Javante Howard had a few touchdown passes. Talk about his performance.
This is the Javante Howard that I've been looking for.
he was doing some things early on in the season that I wasn't used to him doing, you know. But just continue to coach the young man, believe in the young man, and he was looking forward to this game. He wanted to put his team on his back. I just saw something different about his approach to practice. This game, he really wanted this game. He understood what this game was about for his team, for his senior year, and to carry his guys over.
And that he did as you guys go ahead and get the win. Now, we kind of referred to the back-and-forth nature of this one, kind of a high-scoring one, but your defense late in the game steps up and makes a really big play in this contest, a pick six. Talk about that play and how it kind of iced the game for you.
That was a big play because last year, you know, we was in the same situation with Park last year. They got the midfield, and Aaron Parker threw a Hail Murray, and he threw two of them in one game. So that's one thing I said, man, we're not going to let that happen. But Johnny Pittman, you know, he's David Rose, younger brother. David plays for Purdue. And like I said, he stepped up and made a pick and ran it back for a touchdown, gave it a 2-touchdown lead. But they came right back, Will Park, and they scored again. But like I said, we got a young team, young secondary, and basically trying to limit the big plays we can give enough. And that's something we're going to continue to work on.
And again, you were limited enough tonight to go ahead and get the win as you win it 42-37, handing Gwynn Park their first loss of the year. Coach Ronnie Crump of Potomac, the Wolverines, victorious tonight. Coach Crump, looking at your schedule this year, again, always so tough over in your area, the teams you have to face off against. You know, some people may have kind of, got off people's radar if you drop the season opener against Oxon Hill, then of course that juggernaut over at Wise. But your team is starting to get some momentum going, considering what you did last year in the playoffs where you got hot at the right time, played really good football late in the season. Do you feel like your team is trending upward as you head down the stretch and towards the playoffs?
Yeah, it's funny you say that. We were just talking about that in our little staff meeting. We get this team clicking at the right time, get everybody on the same page. And we can keep going. We got about 11 guys injured that's out. We got 11 guys on the injury reserve list. And for this team to stick together, and that'll hurt most teams. But this team here, we found some character tonight. We didn't have any character early on in the season, but we're starting to figure out what we can do and who we are. So, basically, we told the kids we can't live off last year's identity. We got to come back and create our own identity and find out who we really are. And we're starting to do this. Team is starting to gel. They're starting to like each other. At the beginning of the year, I didn't know we even liked each other. That's how crazy it was. But now, see the guys, they're hanging out together. They're going out. The line is going out to eat together. We returned a line with zero experience, So we found out a lot about ourselves as a coaching staff. What we had to do is go back and just start over and teach and preach and preach and coach. That's what we were doing, and we're starting to get some results.
Well, that is definitely. Go ahead, Coach.
I said we're just starting to, get some results from our kids, and we just found a new belief system tonight. So, proud of my guys, proud of my staff. We're growing. We're starting to grow out of our own stubbornness as a staff, and just believe in each other and just carry out the game plan accordingly.
Well, I'll tell you what, you did that tonight. You beat a quality Gwynn Park program 42-37. Head coach of the Potomac Wolverines, Ronnie Crump. Congratulations today, Coach Crump, and thank you so much for joining us on the show.
I appreciate you for having me.
Again, Coach Crump, his team made a nice run into the state semifinals last year, hoping to maybe kind of get some of that magic going again this year as they were victorious tonight in a win over Gwynn Park 42-37. Well, that's going to wrap up our interviews on the show today. Want to quickly go ahead. We'll run down the scores for you one more time as we're in a little bit of overtime here on the final drive. Let's do it. We'll start at the top. Number 1, DeMatha, Winterton Ever McNamara, 49-12. Number 2, Wise. We mentioned them when talking to Coach Crump. They face off with Duval tomorrow. Number 3, Damascus beat Blake 45-14. Number 4, Gonzaga had a bye their next game against DeMatha next week. Number 5, St. John's. They beat St. Mary's Riken 48-7. Number 6, Sherwood all over Northwood 76-20. Number 7, Ole Mill over North County, 35-zip. Number 8, Madison beat Marshall, 41-zip. That one on Thursday. Number 9, Quince Orchard shut out Churchill, 49-zip. Number 10, Episcopal over St. Stephen St. Agnes, 42-3. Number 11, Stonebridge, they beat Robinson 36-21. Number 12, Westfield knocked off by Briar Woods in double overtime, 35-34. Number 13, South County beat W.T. Woodson 56-32. Number 14, Howard over Centennial, 35-zip. Number 15, Centerville over Oakton, 21-12. Number 16, Lake Braddock beat T.C. Williams, 42-7. Number 17, Good Counsel, they're at Carroll. I believe that one is a Sunday game. Number 18, Calvert at Patuxent tomorrow night. Number 19, South Lakes beat Herndon 56-23. Number 20, Spalding over Calvert Hall, 42-14. Elsewhere in your private school action, it was Riverdale Baptist over Bullis, 49-19. Friendship Collegiate edged Avalon 9-8. Indiana School for the Deaf beat Modell 57-0. St. Albans over Paul VI Catholic 34-21. Archbishop Curley fell to Severn School 12-0. Century over St. Mary's of Annapolis 21-19. Pilati over St. Paul's 55-0. In DC, Ballou big over Anacostia 54-0. It was Bell over Cardoza 42-8. Dunbar beat Eastern 44-20. Elsewhere, Theodore Roosevelt over Phelps, 63-0. It was H.D. Woodson over Wilson in the Turkey Bowl rematch, 41-35. Maryland saw Annapolis edge Severna Park, 42-35. Blair over Springbrook, 36-7. Broadneck big over Arundel, 45-12. Largo beat Central, 36-0. North Point shut out Chopticon, 26-zip. Urbana over Clarksburg, 17-12. Fort Hill big over Fairmont Heights, 63-13. Whitman over Gaithersburg, 28-17. Great Mills beat Leonardtown, 24-16. Elsewhere, it was Wild Lake over Hammond, 30-0. St. Charles beat La Plata, 24-6. Long Reach over River Hill, 20-10. Thomas Stone beat McDonough, 33-20. Northeast over Chesapeake, 28-22. Northern beat Huntingtown, 21-14. Northwest over Richard Montgomery, 46-13. It was Paint Branch falling to Einstein in an upset, 16-14 tonight. Bethesda Chevy Chase beat Poolsville, 20-12. Potomac of Maryland over Gwynn Park tonight, 42-37. It was Seneca Valley over Watkins Mill, 42-21. Glen Burnie beat Southern 25-7. It was High Point over Suitland 7-6. Walter Johnson beat Magruder 32-21. Lackey over Westlake 28-zip. It was Wooten over Rockville 28-22. In Virginia, Battlefield beat Osborne Park 45-22. It was Brentsville over Fauquier 42-27. Champ beat Rockridge 53-14. Chantilly over McLean 49-14. Colonial Forge over Forest Park 52-14. Woodgrove beat Freedom of South Riding 52-14. Latin Valley over Hanley, 40-14. Hilton over Garfield, 56-0. It was Washington Lee over Langley, 36-35. Dominion beat Loudoun County, 37-10. Liberty over Manassas Park, 35-14. Annandale over Mount Vernon, 28-21. It was Potomac of Virginia over Mountain View, 31-13. Tuscarora beat Potomac Falls in overtime, 24-17. Riverside over George Mason, 31-13. Stonewall Jackson beat Osborne, 26-0. It was Wakefield over Edison, 32-14. West Potomac wins a shootout against West Springfield, 47-40. Riverbend over Woodbridge, 24-5. Broad Run beat Yorktown, 29-7. Plenty of games on tap for tomorrow. They include, this isn't the entire list, as we may have some kind of stragglers, but, we got as many as we got for you. Athelden at Mount Hebron tomorrow at 1. Bladensburg at Northwestern at 2 tomorrow. Eleanor Roosevelt hosts Bowie at 2. Capital Christian at Grace Christian at 2:30. Douglas hosting Crossland at 2. Flint Hill travels to Bishop Ireton at 2. Benedictine hosting Georgetown Prep in a 1 o'clock start. Good Counsel and Carroll. That is now a Sunday game, I believe. Make sure you check both teams' Twitter pages. They'll let you know. Kennedy is at Wheaton tomorrow at 2. St. James hosts Murray at 2. Oxon Hill in a big one against C.H. Flowers tomorrow at 2. Laurel hosting Parkdale at 2. Paul Public Charter at Richard Wright at noon. Sidwell Friends hosting Potomac School at 1:30. Reservoir Glenelg at 1. St. John's Catholic Prep at Annapolis Area Christian at noon. Friendly hosts Surrattsville at 2. Wise at Duval at 2. And Calvert will host Patuxent. That will be a 7 o'clock start. And that's going to do it for our show this week. Plenty to go ahead and talk about on the show today. Plenty of things we've got to wrap up, as again, it was a fantastic show as we talked to a lot of coaches today. Boy, this thing is kind of fun when you get it going like this. Talked to you on the show today, head coach of the Potomac Wolverines. Big win for them over Gwynn Park. Ronnie Crump joined us on the show. Tuscarora head coach Mike Burnett joined us on the show to talk about his team's win over Potomac Falls. Also, Daniel Tyson of Bell joined us to talk about their win over Cardozo tonight. Northwest Mike Newbiser joined us to talk about their win over Richard Montgomery tonight. H.C. Woodson coach Greg Fuller joined us to talk about their win over Wilson tonight. And the big one of the night, Charlie Pierce, head coach of the Briarwoods Falcons, joined us to talk about his team's upset win over number 12 Westfield, as the Falcons get a big win, dropping the second straight loss for Westfield against teams from Loudoun County. Loudoun County not treating the Bulldogs so well for the last 2 weeks after Stonebridge knocked them off, and then their compatriots down the road in Ashburn, Briarwoods, with the win tonight. Well, that's going to do it for the show. Thank you so much for joining us. Again, I'm Jeremy Huber. If you want to give us some feedback, go ahead and do it. We'd love to get it from you. DMV Stream, hashtag it with the final drive. That's on Twitter. DMV Stream, hashtag it with the final drive. Folks, that's going to do it for the show today. Likely, we'll see you in 2 weeks. It'll be October 28th. We'll be back with you on the show as having some assignments the next few weeks, but we will be back after that to go ahead and join you and get you up to date on everything in high school football in the area. So make sure you come back for it then. This has been the Final Drive on DMVSTREAM.com. I'm Jeremy Huber. We will see you in 2 weeks.